Hello, all heroes, and welcome back to Invincible Guard of the Globe. And today we are going to be going over the skills of the man himself, black and blue suit, Invincible, the newest character to be added to the game, and our first variant of an existing character. I suspect it won't be the last because we got Angstrom with his little drones and stuff, and we do technically have the evil Invincibles, which I hesitate to call them the same character. I mean, they are, but are they though? Questions, multiversal stuff, and all that jazz. But today we're talking about Invincible with a new suit. Now, his tags are going to be very familiar because he is an Earth's Defender, just like the original, and he's pretty much the same as the original here. Viltrumites, humans, melee, flying, and last line of defense as a fast melee character. All that is pretty standard. But his skills are where things get interesting. His main ability is Fists of Fury. Invincible dashes towards the enemy with the lowest HP, pushing them while dealing a rapid combo of punches that deal 125% of his base damage and 15% true damage, ignoring the enemy's defense. So that's a biggie. Is this character does true damage, which is a mechanic that I don't think we've seen before now. And what true damage basically does is this will do attack with basically 15% of his attack stat and completely ignore the enemy's defense, meaning that their defense stat will not lower how much damage this does. That's why the percentage looks so low. You'll think like, okay, 15% is a drop in the bucket, until you realize that he's not going to be worrying about their defensive stats at all, and keeping in mind that it does say a rapid combo of punches that I believe will do this damage each time. It doesn't say how many punches it is, to be fair, but I would imagine it's going to be, more than one, hence the title here. And if we do take it all the way to max, it stays at a cooldown of 16 seconds, which is not bad, but the percentage goes up quite rapidly to 350% and 25% true damage. Especially since it's going after the enemy with the lowest HP, this is gonna be a killer, I would imagine. This is gonna really hurt some fools. Next, we have his passive, Killer's Instinct. When fighting alongside at least one other attacker, all melee allies gain 1% life leech and a 2% attack boost each time Invincible kills an enemy, stacking up to a max of 6 times. Those percentages go up to 10% and 12%, and if the enemy is an invader or a Viltrumite, Invincible gains extra life leech if you do get the skill powered up. This one is interesting. There's a lot to unpack on this one because there are some factors that need to be met, but if you can meet them, it's very good. First of all, he needs to be alongside at least one attacker. Easy. Easy peasy. You slap him in there with Thula, Universa, Anissa, Omni-Man. There are a plethora of attackers that you can throw him in there and you'll do just fine. Then he has to actually get a kill, and that's kicker is he actually has to be the one to do said killing. Although it looks like between his Fists of Fury ability and his other abilities that we'll talk about in a second, I suspect that he's going to be getting some KOs more often than not. It looks kind of tame when you look at it at level 1, but especially if you get this bad boy powered up, that is interesting. It only applies to melee allies, but they're the ones who really need it. 10% life leech from one kill is really good. And the fact that it can stack up is really, really good. So if Invincible starts chaining kills, that is going to go crazy. Especially with the attack boost, meaning that you're doing more damage, therefore getting more healing. I will also note it does not have any kind of a cooldown that I'm seeing, so this will work very well in GDA ops. You throw him in a GDA op where you've got a lot of cannon fodder, and as long as Invincible is getting those kills, all your melee allies are going to be skyrocketing in damage and speeding it up. And also, of course, Invincible here will gain some extra life leech and attack if he is putting down specifically invaders or Viltrumites. Like I said, it's situational because it does require him to be the one getting the kill. But if he's getting it, It's good times for the team. Good times indeed. Next, we have Shielded Fury. When any type of shield is active on him, Invincible's basic attacks deal an extra 2% true damage, ignoring the enemy's defense. So basically, as long as he's got a shield, he's going to always do true damage. Once per battle, when an ally's HP drops to 15%, he dashes towards the enemy that dealt the damage and taunts them, becoming immune to all damage for 4 seconds. And if we do take a look at the maximum here, the true damage gets higher and he gets life leech, and then the shield will last longer when an enemy drops below that threshold. There's a lot to unpack here. First of all, when it says any type of shield is active on him, and we have to kind of make sure we define what a shield is, that will include shields that absorb damage, and that will include immortality shields. So first of all, he shields himself. When an ally drops below 15%, he's basically going to save them by dashing towards the enemy, taunting them kind of like a defender, but then also becoming immune to damage. So he's taunting them, and unless he's fighting conquests, he doesn't have to worry about anything for the next few seconds while he is just doing some serious damage. And while he's got the shield, he's doing true damage. And of course, getting life leech is not a bad thing either. But the biggie here is that this would also work with Adam Eve. Adam Eve throws around a metric ton of shields. Red Rush is another one as well. Red Rush actually does give immortality shields to whoever takes more damage too fast. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if there's any other characters who give shields. Because like I said, Adam Eve is the obvious one. Adam Eve gives shields like crazy. Green Ghost would not give shields. She's more of an invisibility type character, so that's something to kind of keep in mind there. So it would be Adam Eve, Red Rush for sure. I don't remember if there's any other characters that grant shields. There very well may be, but I'm not remembering off the top of my head, and quite frankly, but aside from Adam Eve and Red Rush, even if there were characters that grant shielding, I don't think they'd be enough of a dent in the meta to be worth the effort. So basically, he gets a shield, extra 2 damage, life leech if you do have it powered up, and then he can protect his allies. And finally, we have Skullbreaker. When an enemy's HP drops to 20%, Invincible rushes in to deliver a series of 3 headbutts, dealing a total of 12% of the enemy's max HP as damage. However, 40% of the damage dealt is also applied to him. And if we do take it all the way to level 10, it's 3 headbutts dealing a total of 25% of the enemy's max HP as damage. 20% of the damage is dealt to him, and additionally, his main skill charges by 30% with a cooldown of 8 seconds. So this is meant to tie in with this Killer's Instinct, because it's meant to make it so that, if at all possible, he is the one getting the kill. We do have to factor in, though, this is not true damage. You do have to factor in the enemy's defense stat will lower the damage this does, meaning that there is a chance it could save him. I dropped my fidget cube. How dare I? So, it's not a guaranteed kill, but especially if you got this bad boy powered up, I mean, if an enemy survives this attack, they're not gonna be feeling good. Let's be honest here, because like if they don't have defense, like if Anissa takes them down to 0, well, quite frankly, if Anissa's taking them down to 0, then they've got bigger problems already. But if they have like very low defense, like they're an attacker, there is an extremely high chance that this is going to straight up put them down. It does come at the cost, though, of dealing damage to himself, but it looks like you can pretty easily mitigate that just by getting him powered up. And then this is an attack I think you'd want to get to level 10 as soon as possible. Maybe even the priority, if we're being honest, because, first of all, 8-second cooldown is already amazing, and then it cranks up his main skill charge by 30% at level 10. That's this one, which also dashes to low HP enemies, meaning that on a really good day, he could even chain some attacks if he's lucky, and get some multi-kills. So, if you are powering up this character, and I would highly recommend you do if you have some molecular enhancements that you want to put towards him, Skullbreaker, I would guess, is the priority. I mean, all of his skills look really freaking good, but Skullbreaker is probably the priority just because it can be just a straight up just boom nuke the enemy. Shielded Fury, funny enough, is kind of okay out the box. I mean, you do get the extra true damage and life leech if you do get it leveled up. So for that, let's see. I mean, you get the life leech almost immediately. Let's see. Yeah, you get the life leech at level 3, which is better than nothing for sure. And he already gets a buff to his taunts. I mean, level 5, the taunt cranks up to 5 seconds. The taunt and the immunity. Whereas level 10 gives it up to 16.5. 5 over here would probably be a pretty good breakpoint, honestly. That way you do at least get an extra second and a decent little bit of life leech while you're at it. Killer's Instinct. Again, probably level 5 is going to be your breakpoint. Or level 7, because at level 5, he gets the extra life leech from invaders or Viltrumites. And then at level 7, he gets extra life leech as well as an attack boost. The thing with this is, it does require him to get kills, which you're going to have a hard time seeing practical use in things like Arena and Cecil's Nightmares, because while his skills do definitely increase his chances of getting the kill, if he doesn't get the kill, this is worthless. So it's a bit of a... I hesitate to say invest heavily in this one, maybe just take it up to level 5 and see how it goes. If we see in testing and playing that Invincible is regularly able to get the final blow on people and trigger this bad boy, then I could see an argument to get it cranked up more. But as it is, if you're trying to be budget, level 10 or level 7 is a pretty good stopping point. And then with Fists of Fury here, I mean, it just does so much damage at level 10. I mean, seriously, you get extra 10% true damage, and it almost triples the damage of each punch at level 10. I mean, it's just stats, but it's some dang good stats. Like, ooh, buddy, that is some good pain right there. I'm just gonna say that one could be worth powering up just because, good lord, those percentages. And again, between Skullbreaker and Fist of Fury, if you get those powered up, that makes his passive dramatically easier to trigger. So his abilities kind of feed into each other. So yeah, general consensus, he's cool. He's really, really freaking cool. Now, if we want to talk about artifacts here. Artifacts. Let's see, are there any artifacts that grant shields? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure there's not, if I'm not mistaken, so unfortunately, no help from that. See, that one's a healing over time effect, which is all fine and dandy, but not particularly helpful there. So, if we're talking about things you can use, Battle Hologram is great. His ability does not have a massive cooldown, and he can reduce it with his Skullbreaker effect. So whenever he uses his ability, he gets, he grants everybody cooldown reduction. Can't go wrong there. On the flip side of that coin, you give him the Flaxen Anti-Aging Bracelet, he can use his main ability that much faster. I mean, at level 20, I'm pretty sure it goes up to 10%. So, I mean, it would reduce it by like 1 second and some change, which is not a massive reduction on paper, but every little bit helps every now and then. GDA Cloaking Device. First of all, there are a lot of other characters like the Universe I have it on who can use it to far greater effect. In a weird way, Invincible almost wants to take damage because he can taunt when an enemy gets below a certain, or when an ally gets below a certain threshold. And there are just so many other characters that can use Cloaking Device to great effect, like Universa or Doc Seismic. So probably don't give this one to Blue Suit Mark, just because there are other characters who can use it just fine. I suppose just for some extra damage, you could go for Mark Grayson's Earpiece or Martian Spear. The trick with that would be making sure that you are doing just as much damage as humanly possible to get kills. That's why I would suggest those. Trash Bag is okay as well, but I think these two would help him a decent little bit because you want to make sure that you are actually securing those kills. And then, of course, you've got the Flaxen Staff here, which if an enemy hurts you enough, you can push them back with the same damage and stun them. Again, kind of trying to make Invincible do as much damage as humanly possible so that he is the one securing those kills. There is also body enhancement. If you do happen to run him with some Guardians of the Globe, this can increase his crit by a noteworthy amount and make it so that he does extra damage. And then Flaxen Stun Device, I mean, it's just a great ability. I mean, it's not uniquely good for Blue Suit Mark, it's just freaking good. So, yeah, you could run that as well. But, yeah, I think that is where we're at there. As far as teammates, I kind of already alluded to it, but Adam Eve is arguably going to be his best teammate. Adam Eve has got a ton of shielding from her main ability here and can do a lot for the team, especially if you give her the healing gel, which can keep the team happy and healthy. I will also say, in a fun twist of irony, that regular Invincible would also be an extremely ideal teammate. Not only is he just, a great character, but his Going Steady ability affects the whole team if he has a last line of defense ally, which Blue Suit Mark is a last line of defense ally, and would thus get some ability cooldown reduction, which you want, because you want him to do as much damage as humanly possible to try and secure some kills. So, ironically, he works really well with him. Omni-Man would be a not half bad pick, being a melee character and last line of defense. That would work as well. So, and then, of course, just making sure you do have an attacker on the team with Blue Suit Mark so that he does have a chance of triggering his passive. So, yeah. That is pretty much the gist of it, honestly. He seems like a great character. Is he going to be S tier? I don't know. That is a big old chunky question mark. Because his skills some of his skills scale up aggressively. Skullbreaker and Fists of Fury for sure scale up aggressively at level 10, and I imagine would make him one of the highest damage characters in the game. But we do already have some established powerhouses in the form of characters like OG Invincible. So take that under advisement. Is he busted? He's certainly good. There's no doubt of that, and like I said, all of his skills seem to really focus on him seeing an enemy that's on the lowest HP and putting them down. That seems to be what he's going for. He wants to take the enemy and keep him down. Whether or not he'll actually be able to secure those kills, we will see. We will see. But that is a question for another day. Right now, let me know what you think of this character down in the comments below, and we shall see you next time. Have a good one.